winners again. All right. Hey. What's happening? Look at you guys. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to say a few things today that make me happy. How are you? Welcome to episode 94. Wow, we're coming around the mountain to a fat hundo, a hunch, as we used to say in my day. A hunch. Remember that, old fellas? Remember that, Generation X? Give me a hunch. How much does that cost? A hunch. We didn't say hundo. That's me trying to be cool. But welcome to episode 94 of GreenBean's Jetspot. I am GreenBean. I am happy that you are here. Even though we're not necessarily together at this moment, I feel like we are. Like, it's weird. What's really going on here is I'm alone in a cube talking to myself for an hour or whatever it is. That's what's really going on. But I feel like I'm talking to you. That's the whole thing. That's why I like it so much. So that's why I like this. I will say, man, I could not be more grateful for all of you guys who have been with me since the beginning. My attention has been drawn to that this week for numerous reasons, but I've been drawn to the beginning. And I've kind of had to look at some of the folks who have been with me since like day one. And we talked about it in the live stream today. We talked about it in a live stream a couple of days ago. It's just so cool, man, to have you guys. Like, we've been hanging out for about, 2-3 years. Well, 2 years here on this channel. But as you guys know, I was doing things with Jetnation exclusively for about a year and a half before I moved over here and started this thing as well. I still do work with Jetnation, but now I have this one as well, right? So it could be like 3.5 years. Some of you guys have been hanging out with me. And what a weird thing this all is. It's I don't know, it blows my mind. So number one, I want to say thank you to all you guys who have been around since the beginning. There were times when I would run a live stream and there'd be like 8 of us, just talking. 8, and then it would spike to 12, and I go, ooh, 12. I still remember the first time I got over 25 viewers on a live stream. It was for Jetnation. We were doing a live stream for the game. I think it was week 3. I think it was week 3 of the 2020 season. I think. I was in Washington State at the time, and I was running the live stream, and we got over it was like 25 and 30 for a minute. I actually called Phil, the guy who owns Jetnation, all excited. Hey, dude, check it out. He's like, oh, man, that's awesome. Wow, this is really going. We were all excited. 25, 30 people were hanging out with us for the game. Now the streams, we get 600. 500 consistent. It's just amazing. So thank you to all you guys who've been here since the beginning. But in addition to that, I want to thank all of you guys who have kind of feathered in since. It's just an amazing thing. I really do appreciate you giving me a chance to hold your attention, spend time with me. I just appreciate you being willing to spend time with me. And as I've shared with you guys the past couple of weeks, I have a pretty big goal, a lofty goal, if you will. I didn't think we would be here at this point, but I'm about 700 subscribers away from the 10,000 subscriber mark, which is massive for little old Green Bean. It's massive. So thank you to all of you guys who are helping me. I want to get there before my 2-year anniversary, which is December 31st, 2022. That is the 2-year mark. I want to see if we can get to that 10,000 subscriber plateau. That glass ceiling of sorts. I want to break through it. Yay! What's on the other side of 10,000? And I can't get there without your help. So if you haven't subscribed yet, it would be greatly appreciated if you chose right now to do it. Click, and it's over. You did it. It's done. You don't have to think about it ever again. And I would appreciate it. The other thing that you can do to help the channel grow, help YouTube to recognize the channel, is to hit that little thumbs up button. If you could do that, it'd be greatly appreciated. I'd love to get to that milestone. So guys, guess what we are? We're winners. Big old-fashioned winneroons. That's us. We just beat the Chicago Bears today. The New York Jets beat the Chicago Bears. And look, I already see it. I've already seen it. I've already been texted. Looks like you guys got another backup quarterback. It's like, I'm sick of you. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of everybody. We played with a backup quarterback. Does anybody want to acknowledge that? Can anybody acknowledge just a couple things? Okay, let's talk about this. We're on our backup quarterback. We're on our fifth offensive tackle. We were playing our third offensive guard today, okay? Our starting running back is hurt. Our second running back, kind of quasi-starter, Michael Carter, went down today. We traded for James Robinson. He didn't play today. We're down to an undrafted free agent and Ty Johnson. Okay, does that matter? We finally got Corey Davis, our starting receiver, back this week. Does any of that matter? No. You played as a backup quarterback. You suck. It doesn't mean anything. Your win is garbage. Here's what we say to those people. 7-4. Okay? That's what you say. You say, yeah, I hear you. 7-4. I know. 7-4. Right. Yep. 7-4 though. I'm with you. 7-4. That's what you say. Because 7-4 is what we are right now. And I don't want to hear it. I'm getting tired of all these people. It doesn't matter what happens. We beat the Packers. Oh, but Aaron Rodgers having a down year. You beat the Broncos. Oh, the Broncos, the number one defense in the league. Oh, yeah, but it doesn't mean anything because they're on a backup quarterback. It's the same thing every single week. We just beat a team that is beat up, but we are beat up, and we're better beat up than they are, and we would have beat them at full strength. If they were at full strength and we were at full strength, guess what? We kicked their ass, just like we did today. That's what happens. You understand? Yes, there's injuries on both sides, but if we were both at full strength, can you really deny it? What is this? Come on. I don't want to hear it anymore. So that's why I'm so big on us being with us, guys. The rest of the league, they don't believe in us. The rest of the NFL and their fans, they don't like us. They don't. They look at us as lowly, slimy, creepy, crawly. That's what they think we are. Loud, obnoxious, ugly. Some of us, of course. But so that's why we have to stay together, guys. That's why, because nobody likes us, okay? So we beat the Bears today 31-10. That's the other side of it. Now, if we beat them 17-10, 14-10, I get it, okay? You got an argument. You have an argument. 31-10, and we took our foot off the gas. Last, say, 8 minutes or so, took our foot off the gas. If we wanted to, Mike F. and White could have drove it in a couple more times. You know what? We could have. Stop it. I don't want to hear it. We could have done it, and we didn't. 31-10. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. We're going to break this down. There's some serious storylines in here, man. We got to talk about Elijah Moore. We got to talk about Garrett Wilson, Bam Knight. What about Mike F. and White? What about C.J. Mosley? We have to discuss these things, and we're going to right after we talk about our player profile of the week for episode 94. You know who it is? I was really tempted to go with the previous number 94. I'm going to leave it, but I'm going to go with the guy that's on our team right now. Very interesting fella to discuss. Number 94 right now is our defensive line rotationette, Solomon Thomas himself. Can you believe it? Solomon Thomas, what a weird thing that he's a Jet. For me, it's just weird. I remember him coming out in the 2017 draft, and I'll be real honest, I liked him a lot. I liked Solomon Thomas a whole bunch coming out of Stanford. He came out in the 2017 draft. Remember who we took that year? Now, Solomon Thomas wasn't on the board when we picked, so we couldn't have him. But I remember thinking, oh, man, that guy would be great. Not that I wanted him. I liked him, but I didn't want him. You know who I wanted? I wanted a friggin' quarterback. You want to know why? Because we had Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg. That's why. I thought, wow, here we are at the 6th overall pick, and there are quarterbacks sitting there. Just pluck one for free. Just take them. I'm going to trade. You don't get none. Just here, I'll take that. I wanted Deshaun Watson. That's who I wanted. Now, this is before we knew lots of stuff, and that is what it is. Being as it may, that's the guy I wanted. Deshaun Watson. Mahomes freaked me out a little bit. I still don't think Mahomes would be Mahomes if he wasn't here. If he was here, if he wasn't a Chief, like with Andy Reid under Alex Smith and all those things that happened. Still don't believe it. Talented, maybe, but he freaked me out a little bit. I was more in love with Deshaun Watson. So we took Jamal Adams. That's who we took, right? But Solomon Thomas was taken third overall out of Stanford. He was for the 49ers. That's who picked him. Now, listen to this story. Now, I didn't know this story until very recently, so I'm going to tell it to you. It's an interesting story. So he was playing at Stanford, and he was having a good year, and he was contemplating at the end of 2016 whether or not to declare for the draft, right? Now, in 2016, he had a pretty good year. He had let's see. Well, number one, he was all Pac-12, so that's obviously good. But he had 15 tackles for a loss to go along with 8 sacks. The guy was dominant. He was just, you couldn't contain him, right? He's one of those guys. So listen to this. So he's wondering if he should declare for the draft. And it just so happens that John Lynch, before he was the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers, happened to be studying at Stanford as a mature student, right? That's what they call it, mature student. So he's hanging out with Solomon Thomas, and he counsels him to declare for the draft. He says, dude, look at, like, you can't guarantee that you're going to reproduce next year, blah, 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 blah. You had a great year. You're going to be a first-round pick for sure. Just take it. Go. So Solomon Thomas, probably not only based on that, but this is true. John Lynch coached him, if you will, to go and enter the draft. So then he gets hired by the Niners a short time after that as their general manager. And guess what he does? He takes Solomon Thomas. Now you wonder, did you know you were going to get hired? Well, I don't know. You know what I mean? And what it is. Now, the Niners were kind of known for taking defensive linemen at the time. They took Armstead. They took DeForest Buckner, right? And then they take the third straight year in a row, they take Solomon Thomas. And Solomon Thomas is about as big of a disappointment as you can find. Think about it. His last year in college, he had 8 sacks, 15 tackles for a loss. He only has 9.5 sacks in his whole NFL career. So he's a disappointment. Now, listen to this. Just so happens that Robert Saleh gets hired as a defensive coordinator for the 49ers right before Solomon Thomas. So he's got him the whole time. He knows Solomon Thomas. He knows, he's a disappointment. He's not working. He's bringing him on the inside because he's not working on the end, like all kinds of things like that. So Saleh's moving him around. He's having better year toward the end and all this stuff. And he ends up going to the Raiders. The 49ers decide not to pick up his 5th-year option, and Solomon Thomas goes to the Raiders, signs a 1-year contract, does okay. He gets 35 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and he has a decent year. Saleh gets hired as the New York Jets head coach. 2021, he's already with the Raiders and everything, but as soon as he's free, Saleh wants him over here. Now, again, he's a disappointment as a 3rd overall pick. But Saleh considers him a very strong guy to have in the rotation. Now, he's kind of been quiet here, too. So far, he's got 15 tackles. He's got 0 sacks, 0 fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, anything like no interceptions or anything like that. He's got 15 tackles. But here's the thing. He had 2 games where he played a little bit more. The Cleveland game was 1. He had 5 tackles. In the Bears game this week, he had 4 tackles. 3 of them were solo. He's able to kind of come on at times. And he's a solid member of the rotation. So this is a guy that Saleh feels is one of the important pieces which enable him to take guys like JFM or Quinn Williams off the field. You could put Solomon Thomas in. He's not Quinn Williams. He's a solid guy, high pedigree, good football player. So, again, the Bears game just so happens to be his 2nd best game of the year. So this is one of those things where Solomon Thomas could be seeing his playing time increase and starting to come on alongside of who else? Nathan Shepard, another guy. The last couple weeks, both of these guys are starting to come on and have this impact on the defensive line. And this is kind of the good thing about what they're doing, Ulbricht and Saleh. Not only are we fresher in the 4th quarter, guys, but we're fresher as the season goes on. The guys aren't worn down. These guys are able to start coming on later in the season and all that. So anyway, it's real nice to have him. Saleh trusts him. Now, he's only here for a minute. We don't know if he'll even be here next year. But so far, it looks like Solomon Thomas is a very important piece of the rotation, and Saleh trusts him. Saleh believes in him, and he wants him here, and that's why he's here. So there he is. Let's see how the rest of the season goes. Solomon Thomas, weird. I just feel like it's weird to have him. You know, like it's like the Panthers. Can you imagine? They got Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Like, it's weird to me. Like, how'd that happen? First and third overall picks, you got them both, and they both suck. Sammy had a good day, though. Good for Sammy, right? Sammy had a good day. The Panthers win the game. Sammy looks like the hero. Everybody's carrying him around. Good for Sammy. Good. Good for Sammy. So anyway, there he is, Solomon Thomas, our player profile of the week. Good to have you around here, Solomon Thomas. So let's get into this whole thing, the game, and all of its surrounding elements in the news of the week. All right, the 7-3 New York Jets leave the stadium today, a rainy stadium, victorious over the reeling Chicago Bears. Now, it's unfortunate, right? You would have liked to see Justin Fields play. And, you know, really, if you had a perfect world, wouldn't it have been neat to see Zach Wilson versus Justin Fields, right? It's kind of what you want to see. That's the excitement of the game. It's like 2 years into their career, 2 draft picks, trying to, make good first-round picks, see who's kind of ahead of the other. Not to be. Zach Wilson, as we know, was benched this week, and that's kind of what I want to open with. We've been going round and round, man. Round and round. We did numerous live streams, spent hours discussing this thing, and here's where we land, right? I think that overall, it's a very good move. Now, I don't want to be here. I'll tell you honestly. I don't want to be in a situation where your starting quarterback, the guy that you use, the most valuable resource that the New York Jets have had since 1997. Now, you can argue Jamal Adams was more valuable, being a 2-time All-Pro, but at least as far as draft picks go, the Jets have not had a pick as valuable as the pick they used on Zach Wilson since 1997, when Bill Parcells traded that pick to get a handful of chump change, and he took James Farrior and left Orlando Pace on the board and the whole thing. But you want to see that guy succeed. I don't want to be here, but you look at your situation, and if you're honest with yourself, you take inventory, you look at it, you say, okay, what's really working here? You take an honest inventory. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this working? Is this failing? And if you're real with yourself and leave your emotions on the side, you can see clearly that something needed to happen. Something needed to change. This was not working. Not only was it not working, it was eroding some other strengths. Namely, wide receivers, getting a little bit upset, right? So we were starting to see some cracks in the dam because we were refusing to entertain the idea that we could make a move with this one situation. I commend Robert Saleh. It takes balls. Again, do I want to be here? No. Am I a Zach hater for all you guys waiting to call me a Zach hater? No, I'm not. I'm also not a Zach homer like you. And that's the difference. I'm in the middle, guys. Trying to look at this objectively. Now, I support Robert Saleh for having the gumption to make this move. But we didn't know how it was going to work out. Well, let's talk about how it worked out. Zach Wilson, as we know, was inactive for the game. He's on the sideline, kind of hanging out. Looked a little bit chipper at first. Later in the game, the camera angles they were using, or the lenses or whatever with the filters, Zach Wilson didn't look good. And it was not a good look. We'll talk about that maybe later. That's a whole different thing. Not a good look, Zachy Poo. You got to put on a happy face, my friend. But anyway, so Mike White starts, obviously leads us to victory. Now I'm gonna tell you something. At the half, Mike White had approximately, I forget what exactly it was, like 230 yards, let's say. 220, 230 yards. Did you know, and Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 told me this at halftime during the show, he said that the Jets have not had that many yards in the first half since guess when? since the Mike White 405-yard game against the Bengals. Isn't that nuts? So think about that, guys. This is what we've been watching. Now, again, you're hoping, you're working, you're building, you're developing, you're doing all the stuff. But the reality is we haven't seen a 230-yard first half since the Bengals game last year. And we saw it again in the Chicago Bears game this week. All right? So Mike White leaves the game with a stat line that looks something like this. He has 22 receptions for 28 attempts. That's what we're talking about. 315 yards, 3 touchdowns in the air, 0 interceptions, 149.3 QBR, and he also had 1 sack for a loss of 7 yards. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There could have been a few more sacks. Could have. But Mike White did a fantastic job getting rid of the ball. And I'm going to say this too. In that vein, there were also a couple of plays that I remember distinctly. Mike White standing in the pocket with obvious pressure and hit coming. Stood there like a man, threw the laser for a reception and took the hit. Now, I think the issue, or one of the issues with Zach, was that in that situation, very few times, at least recently, have we seen him stay there and take the hit. He takes off, and he starts twirly-birding, right? He's twirly-birding, right? What's going on? What are we watching? What's going on, Zach? Where are you going? You're 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and you're doing a dance. What is this? So Mike White knew either to throw it, get it away, or to take the hit, stand in there till you needed to stand in there, get the ball away to your receiver, and absorb the hit. It happens. It's part of the game. And you got to commend that from Mike White. Now, let me share this now, because going from Mike White piece to the rest of the offense, we also had a season high today. 466 total yards, which is a season high. Now, that adds to Mike White's numbers, 158 yards rushing. That's without Breece Hall. That's without James Robinson. And the truth is, for much of the game, it's without Michael Carter. Michael Carter twisted his ankle or sprained his ankle. We don't know at this point when I'm recording it how serious it is. I hope it's not serious, because Michael Carter, man, the guy's no joke. And he's able to break tackles. And I really would love to see like a full game with him being the starter. Not necessarily getting every carry. I'd like to see him with 25 carries in a game. 20, 25. I'd like to see that. I want to see what he really can do. 5 receptions kind of a thing. So Michael Carter, he did have 6 carries for 21 yards for a 3.5-yard average, but he wasn't there for a large portion of the game, and we were relegated to Ty Johnson and Bam Knight. Zonovan, as his mother might call him, because I don't know. That's his name, right? Zonovan Bam Knight. That's who we got. So you look at this whole thing. Now, again, we're gonna remember that this is the Bears, and they're beat up, right? They're beat up. But it doesn't matter, okay? It does not matter. We're beat up, our offensive line, all the stuff, right? We're on a backup quarterback too. But when you look at the difference between today's game and where we've been and what we've been seeing. Now, this is our 3rd quarterback this season. Remember, we started the first 3 games with Joe Flacco. Then we had Zach Wilson, and now we have Mike White. Mike White, without question, looked the most relaxed, the calmest, the most collected, the most confident, the most accurate. Now, Joe Flacco had the Cleveland game. He was lights out in the Cleveland game. Beautiful game. He had the fumble, strip sack. Other than that, he had just a beautiful game, led us back in the last time. Just one of those miracle games. We're going to remember that game for a long time. But really, outside of that, this Mike White looks like the most poised quarterback that we have this year. Now, when that happens, you can see the running game opens up. You're spreading the ball around. Robert Saleh said it so beautifully. He said, we have a lot of guys worthy of the ball. We have a lot of guys worthy of receiving the ball. Now, you had guys all season, right? We had the Denzel Mims thing in the preseason. Now, he was just like, look, they're not going to make me active. I'm sick of this. I want to go somewhere where I can play football, right? That is what it is. I don't think that's necessarily indicative of a gripe with Zach or anything like that. But Elijah Moore, around week 4, different story, right? And then last week against the Pats, you saw guys, numerous guys, kind of upset, right? So we saw this kind of eroding. The body language was just very frustrated and tight and angry. And then today, when the ball's getting spread around, like if you're gonna take away Garrett Wilson, we have Elijah Moore, we have Michael Carter, we have CJ Uzoma. If you're gonna take away the tight ends, we have Garrett Wilson. If you're gonna take away Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, and it's Garrett Wilson, and we have the tight ends. And it's only about being able to see that. Now, one of the things that people were talking about today was, why doesn't Mike LaFleur use the same offense or call the same style of plays for Zach that he does for Mike White? Now, here's my answer for that, because I understand, I do. It looks different. Number one, they're different quarterbacks, right? So you want to believe that your offensive coordinator can devise a plan that could utilize the strengths of your quarterback. You want to believe that that's the case, right? That's number one. I would imagine that's somewhere in the fray, that thinking. Number two, and this is what I think is even more important. When your offense is on the field and they go 3 and out, you don't really get too much opportunity to do too much. When you look and your quarterback isn't hitting the open guy that's right in front of him, even if it's just holding the ball for a split second too long and now he's not open, right? That kind of a thing. Having the confidence to hit him, throw it before he's really open, but the spot he's going to be at or whatever, the timing patterns and such. If your quarterback can't do that and you're going up and 3, down and 3 every time, the offense doesn't get a chance to really evolve, into the game plan that you're trying to get to. Now, Zach's done a good job at times, right? And we've seen the creativity of our offensive coordinator. And you guys know I have issues with our offensive coordinator. The thing I try to remember for my own gripe against LaFleur is this is only his second year doing it. Like, we're watching a guy evolve. We're watching him learn and grow. And he's got situations that are pretty much obstacles in front of him. He's trying to get around them. Now, I'm one to say I don't necessarily think the Jets, namely Mike LaFleur and Rob Calabrese, are doing the best job developing Zach Wilson, whatever that means. But I will say this is now, I don't know, it's the third quarterback outside of Zach to come in and be able to throw for 300 yards. Now, Mike White's done it before, but he did it again. Josh Johnson did it last year and Joe Flacco. So Zach's the only one that can't seem to pull this together. So I don't think it's that Mike LaFleur is drawing up different plays necessarily to make Mike White flourish and Zach not. I think it's that you have to understand what the limitations are, and you're trying to do things to build upon the strengths. And if you can't get it done, then there's no way to watch the offense and use the game plan and watch it evolve, watch it expand into the game plan that you wanted to see when you're planning for the specific team that you're going up against. So what we saw today was very, very simple. Robert Saleh nailed it. He said, Mike White makes the easy things look easy. It's like, it's one of those things where, like, there are sayings out there. They're so simple that you don't even get them, but they're profound when you do. One of my personal favorites, it took me years to get this one, was, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I'm like, yeah, of course, no shit. But if nothing changes, then nothing changes. You understand? Do you see it? I mean, I don't care. What are you talking about? There's a layer to that I didn't get the first 5 years I was around it. Like, in my world, that's a saying, right? Nothing changes, nothing changes. I'm like, yeah. And then one day, it actually like sank in, it absorbed through my rigid and rock-like exterior, my thick cranial cavity. It just sank and seeped in. Boom. And I said, oh my God, wait, if nothing changes, then nothing changes. Oh, well, what Robert Saleh said today is very, very similar. Mike White makes the easy things look easy. And that's what we're trying to get across, that this offense is so packed with talent that you really only need to do the easy things to have a legitimate opportunity to compete with anyone. Now, there are going to be teams that can take it away, that are good enough, and you have to think about something else. But mainly, just like look at the Patriots game, both of them. If we could just do the easy things, make the easy things look easy, we win both of those games. We made the easy things look difficult. We made the easy things impossible. So the easy things became hard. We couldn't hit Berrios. You couldn't hit Garrett Wilson. You don't know how to hit Elijah Moore. Therefore, they're able to stop the running game. It's easy, of course. If there's no passing game to worry about, then you can focus on the other guys, which is the running game. Now you're stuffing them, which puts the quarterback in an even more difficult position because the easy things are now hard. So now the hard things are necessary, and they're even more difficult than they were before because everything is log jammed. And therefore, you can't utilize the offense like you would. Now, again, I'm not giving Mike LaFleur a pass. I'm just saying, when Zach Wilson is not on the field, for whatever the reason, the offense looks like it has a shot. It really does. 10 receivers today. I'm going to point something out. Garrett Wilson, we saw Wilson to Wilson have a great connection. I think it was 115 yards. So I'm not saying Zach can't hit Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson was right there. He had 95 yards on 5 receptions today and 2 touchdowns. Now, the last 2 touchdown game was Cleveland with Joe Flacco. But Garrett Wilson was able to receive passes from Zach Wilson. So that's not the whole thing. But in addition to Garrett Wilson being that, dude, he's evolving into a real live number 1 wide receiver guys, we haven't had one. Now, Brandon Marshall, absolutely number 1 wide receiver. And we had a legit number 2 in Eric Decker. They were both old, banged up, and we had them for a flash. That's it. This is ours. He's a real live number 1 wide receiver. We're seeing it happen before our eyes. So he gets his 95 yards on 5 receptions and 2 touchdowns. But guess what else happened? We saw the first real usage of Elijah Moore. Now, Flacco was able to hit Elijah Moore a couple times early, and he made some plays and all that. But for the past 2 months, or whatever it is, we haven't seen Elijah Moore. Last week, thankfully, he broke the seal, and he had a couple receptions. I think he had 2 catches. And he only had 2 catches today. But what he did with them was he turned a short little play, maybe 10, 15 yards in the air at most, 10 yards. And he turned it into a 35-yard, 40-yard scamper. And he had 2 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Mike White got Elijah Moore touchdowns last time. Their connection was intact. Even in the game that Mike White got hurt in last year against the Indianapolis Colts, the first drive, Mike White drove him down the field, threw a touchdown to Elijah Moore. Beautiful touchdown. Beautiful play. Scheme, execution, White to Moore. We saw that. So we got Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. 3 touchdowns combined. But that's not all. And this one is potentially the biggest. It's so vital, particularly for this offense and what they're trying to achieve. Both tight ends had 3 catches apiece. Now, it could even be more than that. But damn, is that a good start. The tight ends caught 6 passes today, and they spread it around to both of them. There were numerous times they were both on the field together, laying people out, catching passes, blocking for one another. It was a sight to behold. We haven't seen that. How many times in our chats for the live stream, for the games, have people said, where are the tight ends? Why can't LaFleur get the tight ends in the game? Maybe, just maybe, it hasn't been LaFleur, guys. Both tight ends. Conklin led the charge with the tight ends. He had 3 catches for 50 yards. Uzoma, not quite as much, but equally impactful. I think 2 of his catches were first downs. 3 catches for 17 yards. And that's the thing. You just get it into your guys' hands. There were a couple times where Mike White, he was looking downfield. It wasn't there. He just threw it for 3 yards to the tight end. Or to the running back. Here, get 3 yards. It's exciting, guys. Now, again, I'm going to reiterate that I'm not a fan of the situation we have to be in. I'm also not of the belief that we have the next Joe Montana on our hands. But I'll tell you what. We just got to do these one at a time. And if we can make the easy things look easy on a consistent basis, and if you're able to get the ball into the talented playmakers that we have into their hands, anything is possible. Just get the ball to Elijah Moore, okay? Just get the ball to Bam Knight, Michael Carter, even Ty Johnson. We'll talk about him in a minute. Just get it to Garrett Wilson. Just throw it to Garrett Wilson. Just get it to him. If you can get it to him, Garrett Wilson can make 2, 3, 4 people miss and make a 15-yard pass into a 40-yard touchdown. Actually, it was a 54-yard touchdown. Elijah Moore's was the 42-yard pass that he turned a 10-yard pass into a 42-yarder. So that's the thing. You don't have to throw a 42-yard pass. You got to throw a 10-yard pass and let Elijah Moore be Elijah Moore. You got to throw a 15-yarder. That's long. And you let Garrett Wilson be Garrett Wilson and get you 54 yards and a touchdown. That's what you do. And that's what we watched today. Now, the defense was weird, right? I got nervous. I have to be real honest. It looked like in the beginning of this game that the defense was not up for the game. Did it not? At one point, we were losing 10-7. I said, how the hell is this possible? All we wanted to see was a game where we could relax. Just one of those. Come on. Can we have one? A little hard fought. Yep, sure. And then we just slowly but surely, we're better and we win. And we pull ahead. And it's calm and it's easy. And we can talk about light, fanciful topics while we're watching a game. And that first quarter, it looked like the defense was not ready to play. Sauce Gardner gets flagged. DJ Reed, gets beat for the touchdown. I mean, great coverage. He was there, I know, but still he gets beat for a touchdown. What's happening? We can't get pressure. Trevor Siemian has all day behind a makeshift, to some degree, offensive line, at least a struggling offensive line. So I got nervous with the defense. The good news with this defense, and Robert Saleh said it well again. He said they don't flinch. Like, I'm not worried about the character on this team. I'm not worried about the locker room. They don't flinch. They get an obstacle, they don't flinch. Difficulty, they don't flinch. Adversity, they don't flinch. They just keep going. They keep playing. They believe in themselves. They believe in each other, and they keep going. And that's what we saw today. We saw a game where the defense looked like they just might not have been all the way ready. Saleh, the rain, maybe they're looking for chunky soup. They wanted to put slippies on and eat some soup, and that's what, I don't know. Maybe that's where they were. But they settled down because they believe in themselves. They don't flinch. They play hard. They keep going. The game settled down. The defense settled down. And they slowly but surely took control of the game. We didn't get the sack numbers we wanted to see, only 2 sacks. I really wanted to see Quinnen maybe at least get 1, get closer to those double digits. But I wanted to see him break out today and get 2. I don't know where Quinnen was. I mean, he only had 1 tackle today. So this was a slow game. So that's what I mean. Like, when you look at this stuff, like, something was up. Like, why isn't Quinnen Williams up? Why isn't he balling? He's got an opportunity here. And maybe, just maybe, the defense thought we don't have much to worry about. Justin Fields isn't playing. What do we got to worry about? The offensive line is shit. I'm going to kill this guy. And when that happens, sometimes you get your flip fattened. That's what happens. You think, I'm going to kill it. Poof, oh, what the hell? Where did that come from? And that looked like what was happening. So I got nervous today. Now they settled down. And they took control of the game. And we have another second half shutout. I mean, guys, the Jets defense came up 13 points in 2 weeks. And none in the second half today. So you got to give it to him. Now, I'll mention C.J. Mosley, who had an interesting game. He did look like he might have been a little lost a step. He looked like that a little bit. Got beat on some coverages, which has been his Achilles heel this year. He's not terrible, but it happens. But on the other side of that, he has 10 tackles, 7 of which were solo, and an interception. A beautiful interception at that, which kind of ended. We were going to win at that point, but it ended like the idea that they can have a comeback, an onside kick. It just ended it. Just said, boop, there's a knife in the chest. That's what it did. And I like that. And C.J. Mosley is just a consummate leader. Like, he's the heart and soul of the team. And it's a shame when you see him get beat and all that jazz. But it happens. But, on the end of the day, he's lumping people up. Him and Quincy Williams and Quan Alexander, they're a unit. They lay the wood. And that's what they did today. And it's really good to see that. And guys, I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. We have a 7-3 team. Mike Effin White is not Joe Montana. He's not Patrick Mahomes. But if he makes the easy things look easy, like Saleh said, this offense, this squad has enough on it where we can compete with anybody, and that is the news of the week. Did you guys know Chazz Surratt got a tackle today? Did you know? I didn't know. I didn't even see him. I didn't even know he was out there. Chazz Surratt, which, by the way, is just such a beautiful thing for me. I liked Chazz Surratt coming out. And the Minnesota Vikings just decided to cut a whole bunch of their previous regime's draft picks. And in my opinion, we got ourselves a little tiny nugget. Chazz Surratt, he's not a world beater. He's not going to be the stud of the year yet. I believe he is a fantastic guy to develop. He finally got into the game today. Marcel Harris, they flipped spots. Marcel Harris is on the practice squad because they're thinking, you know what? Second year Chazz Surratt, maybe he's got some juice. And they brought him in, and he made himself a tackle. It was a solo tackle, too, and I love it. I love to see it. I love that. We got Bradley and Chazz Surratt. Oh, my God, these guys are just sitting on our practice squad. 4 years ago, these were the best guys on our team without question. Top of our heap. Not now. That's Joe Douglas. Now, I'm going to get into something pretty important because I'm getting my balls busted a lot, and I want to talk to you guys about something, okay? We're going to get this out. We're going to say it. We're going to say it in this week's Intelligent Gripe. Ty Johnson. Ty mother effing Johnson. Now, here's the thing. Ty Johnson, let's take a look at this guy. He had one of those games, for his level of career, you can call it a career day. You could. Now, it's not. He's had even better games than this. He's been with us for 3 years now. And he's had a couple games, a handful, that were even better than this. But today's game was good. Now, here's the thing. I even had guys like Joe the Comic stop by, bust my chops. Hey, you better talk about Ty Johnson. I had guys super chatting to make sure that I gave Ty Johnson the respect he deserves. Now, here's the thing. We're going to talk about this, and I'm going to use Ty Johnson to talk about it in a blanket manner. For my opinion on all things New York Jets, okay? All things. Now, we do a lot of draft analysis, research, dissections, and all this sort of stuff. And we get these very firm opinions about guys we like and don't like in the draft. We look at free agents. We look at the undrafted free agent market. We know who we hope the Jets are going to get, all the stuff. We're kind of insane, a little bit, because none of us do this for a living. But we're still doing it, like for free. We're just doing it, right? We're digging in, spending hours watching tape. And we get opinions, we get feelings, and we think we know what we feel would be the best moves for this organization. Now, very rarely does it happen to where what we really want ever takes place. Now, yeah, a guy here, maybe the one pick or, I saw some guys this year. There were quite a few of you that wanted Sauce Gardner with the first pick and Garrett Wilson with the second pick. And kudos to you because you got it. It's the best. It's the best thing ever. Now, I did not get the guys I wanted. Now, I'm very happy with who we got. And I said a million times, I loved Garrett Wilson. My opinion was this. I didn't think we needed to take a wide receiver that high. I said, if we're going to, I hope it's Garrett Wilson. But for me, I thought that you could wait till the second round and get your receiver there and get similar production. Now, that does not look like the case. But I will say, those early second-round picks where we were, those wide receivers are studly, too. Not Garrett Wilson. But that was my point. Now, I'm very happy with Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. Love them. And this kind of goes into what I'm trying to say. I am not someone who, when I don't get the guy I want or the guy I didn't want is on the Jets, I am not happy when they fail, and I'm not unhappy if they do well, okay? Like, I see that all the time. Now, Ty Johnson is a funny one because let's back it up a little bit. When we signed Ty Johnson off the waiver wire from the Detroit Lions, a running back that gets cut from the Detroit Lions, it's not necessarily someone that you think is going to be your next superstar. Fair? Fair enough. Okay. So that's how we got Ty Johnson. Now, at the time, we were beat up. I happened to like the signing. I liked it. And I thought Ty Johnson should get more opportunities. Now, he would have moments where he was electric. And you think, oh, man, if this guy could get 20 carries a game, who knows what the world holds for him, right? Oh, what could it be? Now, here's the thing. Again, we've had him for 3 years. So Ty Johnson is a guy that I've rooted for. I really wanted to see succeed. But in the last 2 years, what we've seen is very inconsistent from Ty Johnson. We've seen a guy who one play would do okay in pass pro. And then the next 3 or 4 times, he's getting blown up. He's not even in the way for sacks, whether it's Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, we've seen it. We've seen other times where Ty Johnson gets the ball in his hand and he's like, he makes 4 guys miss and then he runs a guy over and he gets 18 yards. We've seen that guy too. And then we turn around and we see a game like last year when he had 3 consecutive third down drops that would have been first. So essentially killing by himself 3 drives, 3 in one game. So you got issues with the pass protection. You got issues with the dropsies. Now, those weren't his only drops. He had 4 third down drops last year, if I remember correctly. Fairly certain. So he had 4 third downs that could have, who knows what could have happened. Maybe we score, maybe we win a game. Who knows? But he shows that he's inconsistent. He's not trustworthy. And in addition to that, he's had fumbles. Now, sometimes he's running balls to the wall and he fumbles. So this is the whole thing. My opinion with Ty Johnson. I'm nervous. I don't want him out there because it freaks me out. I would rather see Michael Carter with the ball in his hand. I'd rather see James Robinson with the ball in his hand. That does not mean that if Ty Johnson gets the ball handed to him, I don't want to see him make it all the way to the end zone. Every single time. I am not rooting for that man to drop it, fail, suck, so I can be right. It's not even on my docket. They hand it to him, I go, go! Come on, Ty Johnson. Now, this week against the Bears happened to be a week where Ty Johnson was nothing short of an asset for this team, without question. I don't recall how he did in pass protection. I just don't remember. I didn't see it. I got to wait till I look it over this week and see if I catch anything one way or the other. But boy, oh boy. Ty Johnson had 5 rushes for 62 yards. He had 1 touchdown for a 12.4-yard average. But he had a 32-yard touchdown. That was all him, man. Now, the hole was there, so he had the hole. Beautiful hole. But man, was that a brilliant run. Ty Johnson also had a reception for 16 yards, which was a very important first down. So you add that to it. He had the 32-yard touchdown. He had a couple other nice runs. And then he had the 16-yard reception. Beautiful game. I'm going to tell you something. I'm happy about that. That does not mean that if they put him out there next week, I'm not nervous. I'm not. And here's why. One game, whether it's terrible or brilliant, does not mean the career is going to be either of those things. The data that we've collected on Ty Johnson is over 2 years. 2 years to come to the conclusion. I'm nervous when he's out there. The one game cannot possibly alleviate that for me, and it shouldn't be that way for anybody else. It's scary. It's scary. You have to have at least a partially, a similar time frame of collected positives to take away the negatives. You have to do it. Now, I want you to know, whether it's Ty Johnson, whether it's Bam Knight, who was fantastic today, by the way. Loved Bam Knight. First game as a pro, fantastic. That's all the data I have on Bam Knight. A little preseason action and one game of being our leading rusher today. Real quick, Bam Knight had himself 14 rushes for 69 yards and a 4.9 yard average. Not too shabby for the kid coming off the practice squad. And whether it's we have to sign someone off the street and they come in and they strap on a Jets jersey and a helmet that says Jets on it, I'm rooting for them too. That's what being a fan is. I'm never happy when a Jets player fails. Never, not once. I don't care if I didn't want him in the draft. Okay? It doesn't matter. Once they're not Jets, they get picked by another team, I am no longer a fan of them. Doesn't matter how much I like them. I still think they're talented, whatever. I don't like them anymore. When they're on the Jets, I am a fan. In my opinion, that's what being a fan is. I root for this team. And if Ty Johnson ends up being the lead back for the rest of the year, and he ends up being among the elites, I am happy about that. And that is the intelligent gripe. Woo! I'll tell you, man. The New York Jets, it's fun. You know what I realized, though, today? And this is the crux of it all. We had a game where in the second half, look, we thought they could come back. They received the ball in the third quarter, and maybe they got a shot here. We weren't necessarily blowing them out, but very quickly we kind of saw we're taking this game over. It almost becomes, I don't want to say boring, but it's weird. It's not necessarily as positive as I think it's going to be. For whatever reason, I need stress to enjoy the game. I need excitement. Like we're scoring touchdowns. Don't get me wrong, I liked it. I was like, yeah. But it didn't feel like when it's close, woo! Like the blocked punt against the Packers. Like Quinnen Williams picking up the fumble and stiff arming Tyreek Hill. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what that is. I wish I could just enjoy the game. I'm going to share. I don't know if I know how. I don't know if I know how to just enjoy a win. Is this what it feels like? They just like when the Patriots just beat us every year. They just go, like, is it fun or is it boring? I don't know. But guys, I'll tell you what. Don't let anybody rain on your parade today. Don't let them. This is for us. We're going into the Minnesota game, and we're going to see a very, very good defense be tested by a very, very lethal offense. Now, can our offense take advantage of some of the weaknesses that they have on defense? Because we're going to need to keep up, in my opinion. Hopefully, our defense can hold them down, keep them within realistic numbers. I can't wait to see Sauce and DJ Reed versus Thielen and Jefferson and the crew. It's going to be something to behold. I think we're going to have a good game, and the good news is I actually think we can win. Let's see how it goes. Thank you for stopping by for episode 94 of GreenBean's Jets Pod. I am glad you are here. Let's go and have a good week and enjoy the win. 7-3. Take that to the bank. It's good to be a Jets fan. Have a great day, everybody, and go Jets.